The Dragon Ball news just keeps on coming in. Guys, we have more information for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. It seems as if a member of IGN's crew interviewed the producer of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And from this interview, we have a few bits and pieces of information concerning the development of the game. So I want to make sure that I break down all of this for you guys right here, right now. So the title says, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero producer says game will have Budokai Tenkaichi's spirit nostalgia. During the Game Awards, Bandai Namco revealed a trailer for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, the newest entry in the beloved 3D fighting game series. Seeing as how it's been nearly 15 years, 10 years if you count the series' lackluster spin-offs, which is crazy because I love the Region Blast series, since players received a new mainline Budokai Tenkaichi game, folks likely have a lot of questions about Sparking Zero. Naturally, IGN assembled the 7 Dragon Balls and spoke with producer Jun Furutani to chat about the game's 5-year development process and get some insight into what players can expect when Sparking Zero releases on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. So now we get down to this part right here. Although several Dragon Ball games have released since 2007's Budokai Tenkaichi 3 on PlayStation 2 and Wii, Furutani said, now felt like the perfect time for the series to return and deliver an evolved Dragon Ball Z gameplay experience on next-gen consoles. So, this is what has me excited. So, this had to have been cooking for a little bit, right? Obviously, with how the game looks like, this game has definitely been cooking for a bit, right? But we get a bit more details as to what's been cooking. So, what was interesting to see with Sparking Zero was the effect on the environment. When Goku is charging his ki, you have a little bit of wind picking up, Furutani said while pantomiming Goku's Zenkai boost. When someone crashes through a boulder or a building after an attack, it's happening in real time. We'll be using Unreal Engine 5, so the graphics are just that more real and immersive. So yes, if you guys remember my breakdown video, I said that this game is running on Unreal Engine, but I didn't know at the time which version of Unreal Engine it was running off of. So I speculated it was either 4 or 5. But we have the confirmation that yes, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero will be the very first Dragon Ball game to run on Unreal Engine 5, which means that this is going to be a Dragon Ball experience like none other before. And not only that, everything that we see happening is happening in real time. All of the destruction. So that means that the destruction we see is not pre-rendered destruction, which means that permanent stage destruction could actually be a thing now. Like, I mean, it's been possible for years with, you know, how quickly technology advances. But again, all of this is happening in real time. It's no longer pre-rendered stage destruction like how it's been in the older Tenkaichi games, or even like how it's been in Raging Blast, or whatever the case may be. Heck, even the destruction that we had in Ultimate Tenkaichi, though it was quote-unquote permanent, it was still pre-rendered. This is all going to be real-time destruction, which is going to be nice. Anyway, moving on. What was interesting to see with Sparking Zero was the effect on the environment. Furutani said he drew inspiration from his time observing how players in Dragon Ball FighterZ esports scene enjoyed recreating iconic battles from the anime to ensure players could relish in an identical experience with Sparking Zero. Sparking Zero is different than Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. FighterZ was created with esports intentions with 2D fighting. Kakarot was about experiencing the story. Xenoverse had players go in as an avatar into the world, Furutani said. The focus here is to push the limits of how much a player can completely immerse themselves into the world and how intensely we can make that happen, which is very evident because it's the Tenkaichi series. Obviously, they're not trying to be fighters, they're not trying to be Xenoverse, they're not trying to be Kakarot, they're trying to be their own thing and they'll do it their own way. And we already know the track record of how good the mainline Tenkaichi games are, so we know that's not going to be a problem. Before the new Budokai Tenkaichi trailer made its world premiere earlier this year, fans referred to the previously unnamed title as Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Komatsu spotted a Bandai Namco trademark filing in September, revealing that the game would instead adopt the series' Japanese title, Sparking. Although the title Zero tends to indicate a game ostensibly serving as a prequel entry in an ongoing game series, that isn't the case with Sparking Zero. Rather, the name is meant to embody the game being an accessible starting point for longtime fans and newcomers alike. So that means for anybody having any room for like doubts or questioning anything of the sort, they quite literally just confirmed it right there. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, yes, it is the next mainline title in the Tenkaichi series, but it is considered a reboot. This is a reboot game, and it makes sense because it's been well over a decade since the last mainline title. Hence why they're going with the moniker Zero, because it's them rebooting the series for the new generation. So it's still the next game in the Tenkaichi series, but it is 100% a reboot, and they confirmed it right there. Despite my best efforts, I wasn't able to get Furutani to spill the sensu beans about the game's roster size, or more importantly, if the series' beloved loading screen minigames would make its triumphant return. However, Furutani beckoned fans to look forward to more details in the future and expect a robust game when Sparking Zero releases on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and Steam. So yes, that is the end of the article. So again, we did get a lot of information about this game. Just the fact that it's been cooking for 5 years. 5 years, right? More often than not, when it comes down to the development time for modern Dragon Ball games, the development time usually does not last that long at all. It's usually about 2 years before we would actually get the release of the game. If I'm not mistaken, Xenoverse 2 was made within that time frame. But note that this game started development in 2018. 2018, only 2 years after Dragon Ball Z, or well, Dragon Ball Xenoverse came out. So just knowing that this has been in the back end for a while speaks volumes. It lets us know that they knew fans wanted Tenkaichi to come back, but it also gives me a bit more of a newfound appreciation for Xenoverse 2, because obviously, even though they are different developers, like, we do know that when it comes down to Bandai games, they don't try to overlap like console games if they're like too similar, right? For example, like, you wouldn't have seen back in the day like Tenkaichi 2 and Tenkaichi 3 releasing like within the same year type thing, you know? Like, that makes literally no sense. Like, games like Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 being out and then afterwards releasing Dragon Ball FighterZ makes sense, because one is quite literally a fighting game and the other one is more just like a Dragon Ball like 3D fighting arena type game, right? Where they are both still focused on Dragon Ball, but they focus on different audiences. So in that regard, that type of thing makes sense. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is extremely self-explanatory. There's a very valid reason as to why that game exists. But a game like Sparking Zero, in comparison to Xenoverse 2, it's very obvious that when Sparking Zero releases, people are going to want to migrate from Xenoverse 2 to Sparking Zero. This happens every single time a new Dragon Ball game exists, right? It happens every single time. Again, Xenoverse 1 was released first. When Xenoverse 2 came out, everybody dropped Xenoverse 1 and they moved over to Xenoverse 2. Heck, when Tenkaichi 1 was out and then we got Tenkaichi 2, they dropped Tenkaichi 1 and moved to Tenkaichi 2. When Raging Blast 2 came out, people dropped Raging Blast 1 and moved to Raging Blast 2. So again, it's safe to say that since these are like similar in nature, people are going to migrate from Xenoverse 2 to Sparking Zero. But of course, if you release that within such a short time frame, well, then you probably killed off Xenoverse 2 a bit too early, especially with all the content that Xenoverse 2 has now, because of that long period of time that this game wasn't even announced yet. So just knowing that this game has been cooking for 5 years gives me a newfound appreciation for Xenoverse 2, because Xenoverse 2 held it down for almost a decade for this game to continue cooking in the back end, for it to look and perform just the way that we've seen in that trailer. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So yeah, again, newfound respect for Xenoverse 2, but I am super excited to see how this game is going to be when when we get more information. Heck, if we're lucky enough to get more info during the Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour, that would be the best case scenario. But as right now, this is all of the extra bit of information we have concerning Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. But I do want to know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section below. But with that being said, I'm Ndukauba, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.